So the international department is composed of two main areas. We have an admissions department and we have an enrollment department. I represent the enrollment department. I am a designated school official and work specifically with our active students, but in essence, our team supports the international student from the very first day they decide to seek a degree at Full Sail all the way through, and if they choose to apply for optional practical training, OPT, and or STEM extension. So OPT is an acronym for optional practical training, and it is an extension of their student status to request employment authorization in the U.S. for up to 12 months, seeking opportunities related to their degree program. So your visa status does not change. You continue to be a student. Within the F1 program, you have this benefit to choose and apply for employment authorization. There is an application process that you will need to complete, but if you meet the minimum requirements, the employment authorization is approved. There is a formal application process. Employment authorization is approved through USCIS Immigration and not through the International Student Department. So there is an application process and fee requirement. So the OPT timeframe, the processing time is 90 days to process. So as such, we do strongly recommend that students apply in advance, and they can apply as soon as 90 days from their graduation date. You have, in essence, 60 days after you graduate to select an OPT start date. And some of the considerations are whether if you're thinking about some downtime transitioning from your degree program and now, starting to look for employment. If you needed to possibly travel. Also, if you just need more time, most importantly, you just need some more time to job search. So we do send some reminders to our students 90 days from graduation, reminding them of the options that they have as they complete their studies. One of them being to extend and apply for employment authorization. So we do want them and recommend strongly that they apply in advance, which is that 90-day period. And at that time, they will need to gather the requirements, which is to complete a formal application for the employment authorization. They'll need to bring with them all their I-20s, passport pictures. There is a current fee assessment of $410, and they'll need to schedule an appointment with us, their DSO, to help them build their application. And our department actually helps the student and build the application and send it out on their behalf. So what happens next is that they will be receiving a physical employment authorization card, which will have their picture and dates, approved dates. And this is the document that they'll be able to show their future employer that they're legally eligible to work in the U.S. Like I mentioned, doing anything related to their degree program. So any travel after graduate status is at the student's discretion. We do have some students that will choose to travel. We want to make sure that they are carrying with them their most important documents, and just be aware that they may be questioned upon return. And if they were to look up this question anywhere or Google it, some universities will not advise that they travel during their 60-day grace period. You cannot work during your grace period. That's why it's referred to a grace period. You have completed a degree program, and now you are in the process of being legally approved for employment authorization, so you need to have that employment authorization card to be able to move on to the next phase. One of the areas that has the most misconception when it comes to employment and work now as a grad is that you can do anything, really anything, as long as you're not violating, and an employer's not violating any Department of Labor laws. But as the key factor is that it's related to your degree program. So with that being said, you can volunteer. You can accept paid or unpaid internships. You can work as a permanent employer, whether it be a direct hire or with a agency. You could even start your own business. So the opportunities are vast. So it's just about, just capitalizing and having an open mind. So one of the main requirements during this phase of employment is that you do not accrue a total of 90 days of unemployment. So some students can look at it from the perspective of, okay, I have 90 days to find employment once my employment authorization has been granted. But rather than that, we recommend that you consider it a total of 90 days in between employment. So the goal would be to really plan ahead, start doing as much as possible to be able to secure an opportunity and to provide us that information once your OPT year has begun. Many of our students have multiple jobs, especially in our industry. Some degrees will be more apt to having multiple project jobs. So yes, you can technically be unemployed, but again, you need to be mindful, the student needs to be mindful of not accruing those 90 days of unemployment. The risk is that if you do reach that, you could be out of status and lose your employment authorization benefit. So the regulations read that you can accrue 90 days of unemployment. So if you look at it that way, you have 90 days. But again, I'd rather students focus on really being proactive and securing an opportunity or having at least a volunteering opportunity while they maybe, gain full-time employment or permanent employment in something else that they really want to do. So travel during OPT is definitely not recommended. The point of this period of time is that you're in the States seeking employment opportunities. So if you were to travel, we only recommend that you travel if you are working and you request from your employer a verification of employment letter, something indicating that you've been granted permission to travel. So upon your return, if Customs and Border Protection officer asks, you're on OPT, why are you traveling? You can say, I am currently working, I had an unexpected reason for travel, but I'm expected to report next day, Monday. Okay, and of course you're going to be carrying all your important documents, and it's always good. We also recommend that you just have a conversation with us just to make sure that there isn't anything else that we need to visit or bring to your attention. So some of our degree programs that fall under the category of science, technology, engineering, or mathematics are eligible for an additional 24-month extension. So those degree programs, those students that are eligible usually will have a discussion about that once they apply for their 12 months. So if they meet those minimum, at least the degree program requirement, they would be eligible to request an extension close to the end of their OPT end date. Along with that, they would also need to be working with a company that participates in a program called E-Verify, and they also need to complete a training plan and, in essence, complete the application process just like they did the first time around with an additional fee. So the student will either ask us, they can always ask their designated school official, and or we will have a conversation. We try to have that conversation during the first year of their OPT authorization.
Now, how do I apply for STEM extension?
So the STEM extension application, there's an application process. They will need to reach out to us again so that we can review and make sure that they meet all the minimum requirements, and ultimately we'll need to provide them with an updated STEM OPT to include in their packet for consideration. So E-Verify is a program that has been created by USCIS where companies will verify their employees' employment and identity eligibility. So some companies participate in the E-Verify program. It's a free program, but it's not a requirement. So that is a question that would come up later on if you're working with a company, is to make sure that they participate in that program, because that is the number one key requirement in order to be eligible to request a STEM extension. I know that our students are very much interested in seeking and gaining work experience in the U.S., but a couple things that we want to stress is the importance of being proactive and really being prepared for employment in general. So taking advantage of every opportunity on campus to gain experience and to slowly kind of chip away at being a competitive candidate once they're eligible for applying and interviewing for positions, and really leveraging the different departments and resources that we have on campus, and hopefully having a better sense that securing employment is not easy. It's a challenge here in the U.S. and more so for an international student. So we hope that they take advantage of all the resources to make it a little bit easier and not as overwhelming as you get close to graduation.